Runeterra is one of the most interesting and fascinating concepts in video games lore history. The amalgamation of all the fantasy tropes mixing into one of the deepest lore I have personally ever experienced. So what the fuck is happening to it? As you may know, I am, of course, really into the lore of League, as I've said multiple times in my previous videos. And yeah, it's so cool to me because the fact that all these characters having their own short stories that gives us a further look into each of these characters' behaviors and personalities. Hard to imagine how this game, well, 12 years later, after its inception, would bring us one of the best animated TV shows of all time. Arcane is special because of various factors, because of various things, you know? The art, the stories, the characters, the little details that the artists have put into each individual frames. You know, there's this one interview that I've watched, like the Bridging the Rift, I think, how the interviewers or the documentary makers asked the artists at Fortige, like, yo, how did you make this look so paint-like? How did you make this look so much like a painting? Then the chat artist just straight up looked back and just said, we painted.
We paint.
You know, for all the shit that French people get, I do respect them for making Arcane. I respect them that much. At least I can't disagree with that fact, you know. But yeah, it's crazy to believe that a League of Legends TV show and Spider-Man would be the pinnacle of art inspirations in this modern era. It's weird how League is included in that as well. What I personally really love about Arcane is the uses of the characters' abilities from the game. You know, seeing the abilities I have grown to hate/love in game translated into these amazing and heartbreaking scenes is just absolute cinema. You know that scene at the end of Arcane Season 1 where Jinx uses her ult? That was her ult. And my god, was it that build up, like making Grimjaw, was the weapon called? And then just shooting the Death Rocket ulti, it's just, and then the music coming in, what the f was it? What could have been? Man, Season 1 just knocks it out of the park. That cinema. It is cinema. And you know, seeing Echo finally rewinding time and the build up to that reveal and seeing it paid off, seeing it in action, it's just peak, beyond peak. Rip David Lynch. I was damn near pogging the entire time when Echo was building his own Z drive. That shit is magnificent. Of course, seeing the world of League coming alive in Arcane is unheard of before, except from the few cinematics that we get. Well, we've never heard of before on the scale of a full-fledged TV show, let alone being that good, let alone written that well. And seeing names, bro. Seeing Zon at his disgusting and crabbed self is perfectly portrayed in Arcane. Each individual shot, each individual scene in Zon feels so cramped and so tight and is so cool. And you see Piltover as this looming city of progress and high class. It's the rich and we should burn them up. And seeing Noxus with its pure might and power and force, that is so fucking cool. It's just cool, man. It's to see a world I've fallen in love in from years before becoming alive in a way that I have never possibly imagined before. That's what I fucking love about Arcane. That's the core of Arcane, to me at least. And it's so cool because we've ever really only heard and see a few drawings of these cities in the lore. So to see them come alive with the personalities and these cities have, it is cinema. But Arcane is at fault for one thing. Yes, it is weird to say that Arcane has problems, but they do have quite a few problems now actually. But this is the one problem that I have personally have some gripes with. A problem that really just grinds my gears is this massive problem that's been aching me since the start of Season 2. The lore problems. In League of Legends, there's over 170 champions in the game, and them having their own stories and whatnot. Of course, there's overlaps and some inconsistencies in the writing here and there, but let me lay down the groundwork for you real quick, just so you can understand where I'm going with this video. So, a brief history lesson, you may say. In the main lore for League of Legends, Noxus invaded Ionia. And what is Ionia? It is another city on the right side of the map, right here. That's Ionia, and somewhere around there is Noxus expanding their conquest towards the entirety of Runeterra. And Ionia is essentially the Asian continent of Legends of Runeterra. The architecture and the tradition and the culture of Ionia is heavily, I mean it, heavily inspired by Asian culture. Look at Lee Sin, look at Karma, look at Akali. Lee Sin, sorry, I should have said Lee Sin, not Lee Sin. What the f did I just say? Shen, Zed, Set. God, they gotta get more creative with these names, bro. Irelia, Bard. There's a lot of champions in Ionia. Jin was in Ionia for some fucking reason. Goddamn, he never seems to escape my video somehow. And you can see all the Asian inspiration from the architecture to the champions designs and traditions, of course, in the stories that you will be able to read in the universe. But yeah, anyways, Noxus invaded Ionia. Do that again. Noxus invaded Ionia. Holy, that's even worse. Noxus invaded Ionia. Oh my, what the Sigma? What the? Noxus invaded Ionia using Singe's chemical weapons to further their expansion into Ionia. And spoiler alert, Noxus lost the first wave. They got essentially, I think, Swain fought against Irelia, and then Irelia legit just cut his arms off, and then that's why he got like the monster arm. And that's really cool. I just read that before making this video, and that's pretty awesome. That's cool. That's cool. I like that. They lost the war after years of fighting each other. These two nations battling it out. Noxus is trying to conquer Ionia, while Ionia is trying to defend its land and its people. From that war, it is the beginning of so many different champion stories in the lore. Just for example, Yasuo, Master Yi, Yone, Riven, and not to mention several other champs that has really already existed in Ionia and had to just protect their lands. There's countless champions that their stories started with the beginning of the invasion of Ionia. And some of these fights and some of these battles are shown in some of the few cinematics that they have produced. For example, Awaken cinematic. They do have some Ionia versus Noxus in there with, I think, Irelia. Holy sh! Kennen was there. Yeah, and Karma and Akali and Yasuo. And Zion was there as well from the side of Noxus, of course. So what I have just explained a few seconds ago, what does any of that have to do with Arcane? Well, through the entirety of Arcane, the story focuses on the two cities, Piltover and Zaun. But at the end of Season 1, they do introduce Noxus, with Ambessa being the lead character for Noxus. But at that time, Ambessa was never really even talked about. I was never even known as a character in the lore. She was just introduced for Arcane, and now she's in the champion and now in the lore. That's already just the beginning. That's just a tad bit of how it's kind of icky-bitty with the lore, you know? What the f did I just say? But you know, seeing Ambessa, we, League fans, know that there's bigger fish to fry than her. Swain, LeBlanc, and Darius. That's what's cool with Arcane for me, because they don't show you the entire thing, right? They let you think. Think, Mark! They simmer the soup and give us just a small taste of it. That's what was so cool with Season 1, because you get to see all these champions just being like, oh wait, that's just a little bit of Zaun. Wait, the champions introduced like Caitlyn, Heimerdinger, Victor, and Jace, that's just a bit of Piltover. There's still many champions like Camille and Seraphine. Oh my god. But yeah, and to me, I'm just excited for the future. That's why I was so into Season 1. Having Jace, Victor, Heimerdinger, Caitlyn, Jinx, Echo, Vi, Warwick, Singe. That's so cool. Because the thing is, right, the champs that I have just named are only from these two cities, from Piltover and Zaun. But it's not the entirety of the roster of these champions in the cities even. We still haven't seen or heard of Zac, Ziggs, Zeri, Blitzcrank, Dr. Mundo, Renata, Twitch, and Urgot. I don't know how many fingers I've counted. That's just from Zaun. Not to mention from Piltover is Camille and Seraphine. Never even anything mentioned about them. And I'm very excited to hear them. Yeah, but this is where the problem kind of comes in. With the ending of Arcane Season 2, right? How at the battle at the end kind of happened, and it essentially has embedded itself into the lore, because Arcane is canon, and they essentially have to put whatever that's happening in Arcane related or is connected to these champions' lore as well. Like for example, Victor. His lore is now replaced by almost essentially a summary to his story in Arcane, which is not what I really like about it. Or that is not the core of what Arcane is to me as a League lore fan. It's not because it's bad, quite the opposite. It's just that it's replacing the old lore with new lore that is suited to Arcane more than the old lore. And because what I always like about Arcane is the fact that you get to see these champions' lives essentially transpire to see what they will eventually become in the game. You have an ending point. You have a starting point and an ending point, right? You have the A, the beginning, and the B. What is the B in this context? Is the champions in the game itself, because that's the current timeline or whatever the hell it is, right? Because some of the lore of the game, and that's the gameplay itself, is kind of just a imagined thing. But the lore in the Runeterra is completely different. And so we know what they're gonna end up look like with point B, but we don't know what they look like at the beginning. And that's why it's very exciting for me to see Jinx as at the beginning of her story and seeing vibes when she was young, seeing Warwick's story, who was actually just Vander in the show, and that just blows my f***ing mind when I found that out. Seeing Singe as this decrepit old man, and then to imagine him in the game looking like that, it's crazy to me. It's like, how is he gonna become that? It's what hooked me to Arcane. That's what really pulled me into it even more, apart from the stories, the characters, the art, and everything else. That is the bait and the biggest claw that Arcane used to drag you into his storytelling. But now with Arcane 2 happened, and with the thing that they're saying that Arcane is now canon to the lore, most of these champion stories are now kind of just f***ing messed the hell up. God damn. Where does Blitzcrank even fit in now? Because technically, his lore, Blitzcrank lore, is tied to Victor. Because in the lore, Blitzcrank was built by Victor. So now that old Victor that built Blitzcrank is gone, but his short story is still there. Like, Victor's short story is still there, but his main biography is just a summary of like a researcher's writing that found out about Victor from the war in Piltover. So that confuses me a lot. Like, me and my friend was reading the Champion's lore, right, trying to find some sense in it, and then we read up on Victor's lore and Blitzcrank lore, and just thought, damn, Blitzcrank lore is so cool and nice. Like, he's just a chill guy, you know. He's really funny. He's really not funny, but like, he's really heartwarming. He really cares about the people that's around him, and his backstory of how he was just a normal robot that gained sentience from Victor, as now roaming around Zaun, saving people. That's really interesting. I really like that. It's like Baymax. It's like Wild Robot. I don't know, it's like Wild Robot, but it's like Astro Boy. I don't know why I thought of Astro Boy. That movie really stuck with me since I was a kid. But now we don't have that, because Victor's story is essentially just Arcane, and Blitzcrank is not there. He's never mentioned. They never did anything with Blitzcrank, and now Victor is gone. So is Jace. So what happens to Blitzcrank now? Like, what is it? What the hell? Not even to mention Oriana. Like, with the Sigma. That was so bad. And then apart from that, does Singe lore even make sense at all? Because since now Arcane is canon, and the event that happened in Season 2 is pretty substantial to not include in the Champions lore. You know, you can't just look past what happened in Season 2 of Arcane. Because some of the Champions story, they include some of the old wars that have happened in the story of Runeterra. Rune War, Darken War, and the invasion of Ionia. All of them are included in the Champions bio, or the champions that are related to these events, or the events that have transpired these champions' lives, correct? And also, not to mention how most champs that are in Zaun are not even mentioned in Arcane, like I said before. And now with the current timeline, right? Piltover and Zaun are still rebuilding their stuff. Like, the Chem Barons are not there anymore because of the things that have happened at the end of Arcane. And so are things that are going to happen in Ionia in the past or present? Is Jinx going to be like 30 years old by the time like they finish invading Ionia? Is Yasuo younger than Jinx? Like, where does that fit? And how old are these characters going to be when Ionia finally gets invaded? How old are the characters going to be when all the champions are finally introduced? Are they going to show us a new version of Noxus's invasion in Ionia? I mean, that's possible, but I don't know if that's gonna really make sense. If they do, then they gotta change it in somehow that it's still good and still keep some of the old stuff, but maybe it's just gonna revamp the entire thing, which I'm really kind of scared about, but also I'm kind of excited, which is could be for another video. Yeah, right now the timeline feels like it's all over the place for me. I might have to look into it more to make sense of all the things that are happening, because I have no idea where the battle at the end of Arcane is placed in the timeline. I'm assuming it's all of the stuff that's happening in the lore is presumably all after the Darken War, the Rune War, and all the other stuff. Because the recent things that happened is the invasion of Ionia, the Blessed Isles, like the Ruination event, the Sentinels of Light, yeah, that event, Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's, I don't know where the hell the Battle of Arcane fits in. Maybe I have to read more into it, but yeah, it's just been confusing for me as a lore nerd. I'm not much of a lore nerd yet, maybe, but I have to look more into it. It's just my opinion. Arcane itself has ended. Very ambitiously, I might add. And of course, there are many more stories to be told in the lore of Runeterra, and I am still excited for whatever that is coming next for the world of Runeterra. I think that Fortiche and Riot has plans to probably further on the stories of whatever the next subsequential League series is gonna be. But they can also do the thing where they do a prequel or like small adapting these small short stories of the champions. Because right now in the client, they are using motion comics to further on the plot of Mel's adventure and campaign in Noxus, with the newest motion comic with her talking about Alistar for a bit. And that's really cool to see. So now I'm wondering if Fortiche is going to go through the entire roster of champions in League and explain all of their stories in this beautiful art style or in some way, shape, or form. Because bias, I would love to see Pantheon. Just an idea. Just my suggestion. You know. I would love to see Pantheon. He's beautiful. He's perfect. He's amazing. Right? I love Pantheon. I love what he is. I just love Spartans. His helmet's cool as right? And his lore is badass. I've already talked in my video, but yeah, I would love to see Pantheon in Fortiche's style. But yeah, I think they can do a lot of pretty cool stuff. I mean, the things that happen in Arcane, we don't even know where it really kind of fits in the story. Who really knows? Not to mention that Jinx was actually supposed to be with Ziggs for a bit. Like they go on a duo mayhem party to destroy Piltover a bit and run the Piltover. But I guess doesn't exist anymore because now Jinx is off to somewhere else. My queen is let my queen do her thing. You know, let my queen do her thing. I'm not gonna say anything. She's still my queen. You know, I still got I got her shit. All right, I respect her. But yeah, so. Like I've said in multiple videos, I am still very hopeful for the future of the lore stuff in Arcane. Not just in Arcane in particular, but just the lore stuff for League of Legends. And I've already said before in one of my old videos, I think one of the videos that I've said that 2025 is going to be the year for lore stuff for League. And as time goes by, that fact has slowly been coming true ever since. And yeah, I hope it's for the better good of the community. Thank you guys for watching, and hope you all have a great day. Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching once again. This video is sponsored by my dad. Thanks, Dad. New mic. No, new mic. New mic. Thanks, Dad. So yeah, new mic. That's cool. I'll probably make another yapping video with this mic, and yeah, I'll see. This is a really fun recording. I like this one. This is really fun to record. Really fun. All right, that's it. Thank God I got so much more memory on this.